It's story time. Let's talk about Christmas in the 1980s. Hey guys, welcome back to 5nothing100nothing.com. I am Fugget, and that stands for the fittest underdog guru using intelligent tactics. Guys, I want to talk to you today about something near and dear to my heart. Me, my childhood. I am a Gen Xer, and I was a kid in the 1980s. So if you're watching this and you're a Gen Xer as well, or perhaps older, you'll reminisce. And you know what? If I'm wrong on something, I blame it on concussions. But it could very well be that I'm remembering things wrong, because it's been a hell of a long time since I was a child. Okay? Now, doesn't mean I don't act like a child. From time to time. You gotta keep it fun. But, so, growing up in the 80s, and when it came around Christmas time, let's start here. I'm gonna bounce around a little bit with it. I hope you guys don't mind my strange trip down memory lane. For some of you, it'll be educational. Some of you, you'll laugh. There's no reminisce and just think, oh, a long gone, bygone day, or something to that effect. So I remember as Christmas was coming closer, you started to get that excitement around Thanksgiving, even beforehand, but not too soon beforehand. Now it's like after 4th of July, it seems like Christmas stuff was out of the stores. But anyways, you would get something in the mail called the Sears catalog. And you'd open up that catalog and you'd look for your favorite toys or whatever it is that you wanted. And you can fill in boxes for what you wanted, right? From Sears. And at least this was my childhood. So you'd give it to your parents and they would know what you wanted, what they could tell Santa. But not only did you do that, you also went to see Santa. You might have even written Santa a letter. I believe I did all the above, and it just really depended on the year, perhaps. I'm sure there were things going on where either my parents couldn't take me and maybe said Santa wasn't, there at the mall, or who knows what. But I just remember every year it seemed a little bit different, so I have no idea. But you'd fill out that Sears catalog, figuring out what you wanted. Perhaps it was a bike, some Legos. If you were me, it was probably like Hot Wheels cars, things like that. I never got into like Star Wars, Star Trek, comic book stuff. Never really interested me. Superheroes. I wanted things that were a little bit more realistic, based in real life. Maybe some Evel Knievel stuff. I kind of liked the way the action figures looked. They were usually muscular and everything. And so little did I know as a child growing up that I would actually get into fitness and like the bodybuilding culture and all of that stuff, athletics, because early on that wasn't really anything I was thinking about. I wasn't really into sports. I might have been into things like Bruce Lee, karate, kung fu movies, things like that, because it looked really cool. So, you had that. Then you might even go to Toys R Us and shop around looking at the toys, and your mom was either making a mental note, perhaps a real physical note, and it was really, there was some magic to it. Parents were really good about not letting on what their kids were going to get for Christmas, or if they were going to get those things they wanted. Santa was a sacred thing, and parents protected it like it was Fort Knox, like it was gold in the old Fort Knox. And some people had the older brothers and sisters that spoiled it for them. I was fortunate enough to be the oldest of 3, and it never dawned on me to spoil that once I knew Christmas was a sham. But But I should probably scrap this video, but I'm not going to. You know what, with Google, the kids know, most likely. My son found out about Christmas whenever I was wrapping presents. Some were from me, some were from Santa, etc. And I was using the same paper and writing Santa with the same writing style, penmanship. He figured that out. Rookie mistake. But you know what? A lot of things that, this will get into this in a minute, but a lot of the things that were traditions and the things that are gone from yesteryear, whether it was meal preparation, you know, like a parent or a family member that had this amazing recipe, or whether it's, you know, going to the store to buy things, or a lot of the traditions that we had, they get lost and they go away because the world changes. But it's our fault. And, you know, I want to say it's probably my generation that just didn't learn the basics of what, like, their parents knew and what was tradition. We started to kind of go and blaze our own trail. Like, for instance, you know, every man was like a handyman, could fix things, could fix plumbing, fix the car, all these things. But I remember my dad wanted to teach me these things, and I was just like completely not interested in it. I wanted to do my own thing. And I had a mother who protected me. I was the baby boy. She used to call me her only reason for living. And funny story doesn't tie into it. I think that she proved that in her last dying day. It's a funny story. It's a little eerie and creepy. It might give you some comfort, but I'll tell that in another video. So, you know, but like going to Borders, if you remember Borders books, right? You would go to Borders, look around, get a coffee, take some books off the shelves, enjoy your coffee, look at the books, browse through them, see which ones you were interested in, and then maybe check out and purchase. Well, then Amazon came along, and you can buy these books at half the price or less. All of a sudden, here I am a little bit younger, and I'm seeing, you know, a limited budget for buying books and doing things since I was in school and doing all this stuff, still not making a lot of money. So I simply would go on Amazon and buy the books that I wanted. So I would use Borders as kind of a way to test out, see what the books were like, and then I would go and buy them on Amazon. Lo and behold, a few years later, Amazon's gone. You know, people maybe have done that with toy stores like Toys R Us, where you're in Toys R Us and you're looking, you go on Amazon, you see the price, and boom, you buy it on Amazon instead. And then, lo and behold, what happens? Toys R Us is gone. You see that with a lot of stores and a lot of industries now. And the thing is, I'm not saying that, you know, I mean, I know the world changes. I mean, we went from a horse and buggy to a car. You know, our phone was just simply something that had an answering machine on it, because you weren't able to get any calls unless you had a beeper, but then people thought you were a drug dealer. But unless you had a beeper, you know, and then you could find a payphone, you had to wait till you were home. And if you had messages on your answering machine, you were excited, right? Now people get mad if you call them on the phone. People used to answer all their emails. Now people miss a lot of emails, and text is probably the fastest form of communication with a lot of people. So the point is, things change, things evolve. They don't always change for the better. I mean, it seems like they do change and become more convenient and more readily accessible to more people, and saves time. But, you know, at the end of the day, all the automation was supposed to actually free up more time, more free time for us, so that we can work more efficiently and get more done in our day. I remember reading articles about how, you know, with creating more time efficiency, that we were going to be able to shave our workday from 8 hours down to 4 or 6 hours. But what really happened was we ended up going into a recession one time or another, and then there's layoffs, and then when work picked back up, they simply integrated two different job titles into one, and now one person's doing the work of two because they're more time efficient. So it's a money saving decision, although it didn't do much for people's morale. A lot of the fat is trimmed. Company parties got smaller. People stopped making Christmas cards, writing Christmas cards out to people. I think that people moved for a season or two where e-cards or email Christmas cards were out there, but then it's kind of like it loses its feel, right? Just like an e-book versus a real book. When you buy a book, you have something in hand. It's a physical product, and it feels like it holds more value to you than if you are simply getting something that's in an electronic format, because it's sort of like reading things off the web. We don't give it the same value. Even though the information might be important, we don't look at it the same way as we look at actually having a physical book. They say whenever you're trying to cut down on debt, pay with cash instead of on a card, because when you have it on a card and you just click or swipe, it's not, you kind of lose track of your purchases, and it's like you lose the value of the money. It doesn't feel like it costs you as much if it's going on a credit card. But you know what? Everyone has their day in court, and there's a lot of people that went into bankruptcy because of that. This actually goes full circle and ties right back into that Sears catalog, because my parents, who didn't have a lot of money, would always make sure that we had what we wanted for Christmas in the early days. It wasn't anything extravagant, but for us it was at the time. And so they would max out the Sears card and buy everything they wanted for Christmas, and everyone had a real nice, happy, Merry Christmas. But then the next several months were hell on earth in the house, because my parents were fighting about money, and having maxed out their Sears card and whatever other company would give them a credit card to buy things on. So they'd go on their little shopping sprees and everything. And I think their generation, which I think was the baby boomer generation of teenagers and kids of the 60s and early 70s, I think that was when credit first came around, and they were like smitten with this idea that they could just get all this stuff now and then pay it later. They're not reading the fine print, seeing interest rates at 16, 18, 20%, and they just keep charging. And there's still people from that generation that to this day have that problem, where they'll get a card, boom, max it out, do it a few times with other cards. All of a sudden they can't make their minimum payments, and now they're borrowing equity from their homes to pay off their credit card debt, because the interest rate has gotten so out of control that they can't keep up with payments or pay down that debt at all. And it just happens with every generation. Learns something. I was having a conversation this morning about Gen Yers, right, millennials, and how Gen Yers seem to suffer more anxiety. People say, they're entitled, they think they get everything for free, and they don't have to work for anything. But I'm not going to just put it on these Gen Yers or millennials, because they also had parents that wanted to build their self-esteem. So they did things in an effort to show they loved them, but in fact, in long term, they might have hurt them more than they helped. And so what I mean by that, no one knows how to drive. This is merging. It doesn't mean none of you know how to drive. Unbelievable. Yeah, there used to be courtesy too. That's another thing that's lost. Everyone is extremely ruthless and selfish. I was in Europe several years ago, and I saw people that were just cold, cut each other off, like didn't show a lot of emotion. And then all of a sudden, this lady, I think it's a kid learning how to drive. Well, she's learning something, but not on my time, not on my watch, sister. So in Europe, like I saw that, and I come back to the States and I see, people are still courteous, saying thank you, holding a door for somebody. And that seems like in recent years to go right out the window. And again, that's another bad thing, right? Women say that men aren't as chivalrous as they used to be. That's true too. There's a lot of things that change over time, and Christmas in the 80s, comparing it to today's times, it's a different world. It's a different world. But you know what? In 10 years, we'll look at today's stuff and what's going on, and I'm sure we'll look and say, you know what? The world's an even more different place. In some ways for the better. Train tracks. In some ways it'll be for the worse, but hopefully more for the good, less for the bad. Who knows? But wherever you are and whatever season of your life you're going through, it's been a tough year for a lot of people, but I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Hope you have a nice holiday season, whatever your beliefs are, your celebrations with your family. I hope that you can maintain some of the traditions. I know some will be lost because of lockdowns and other things going on in the world, but you know what? Grin and bear it, make the best of it. Stay optimistic, stay positive, stay healthy, and stay on track, right? It's all good. Christmas in the 80s, they are gone forever. Gone but not forgotten. Talk to you soon.